Look at you, still breathing in a world that swore you'd vanish by sunrise, still standing in the ashes of every whispered curse they threw your way. You know what they're saying down there right now, don't you? That sentence, that trembling little prayer wrapped in disbelief. How did they do that? And it echoes through every corridor of their guilt like a siren that never stops. They built whole rooms out of your failures, lit candles to your downfall, laughed at your ruin, and toasted your silence. They thought you'd stay buried, bones and all. But then, something impossible happened. You didn't just crawl back out. You rewrote gravity. You turned pain into propulsion, venom into vision, heartbreak into strategy. You didn't survive the fire. You made the fire bow. They can't process it because people like you aren't supposed to exist. You're the glitch in their theology, the living contradiction they can't rationalize. A saint with the patience of a demon, an angel who smiles like a threat. You're too merciful to kill them, too dangerous to forgive them. You ruin their logic just by breathing. Do you know what hell actually is? It's not flames. It's reflection. It's when the ones who doubted you have to relive the moment they laughed. On repeat. While watching you ascend in slow motion, every success of yours is a mirror that burns their eyes. Every time you exhale peace, it sounds like thunder to the ones who prayed for your collapse. They can't even celebrate their wins anymore, because your existence turned their victories into footnotes. You didn't need revenge. You became proof. Proof that pain is currency, and you learn to spend it like a god. Proof that betrayal can forge sharper blades than love ever could. Proof that silence is louder than screams when it's coming from someone who's already buried their past. You're not alive despite what they did. You're alive because of it. Every wound was a signature, every humiliation an initiation. And now look what you've become. Something beyond understanding, the universe's favorite contradiction. You're the sermon the light fears and the darkness envies. You don't chase balance anymore, you are it. Calm enough to smile while chaos trembles in your orbit. Cold enough to walk away from what you once died to protect. They look at you and see everything they tried to destroy, still breathing, still burning, still beautiful in your ruin. You know why they whisper, "How did they do that?" It's not curiosity, it's confession. Because they know the truth deep down. They could have done the same. But they folded, they blinked, they quit the moment it got ugly. You didn't. You stared madness in the eye and learned its language. You didn't escape the abyss. You built a throne in it. That's why they're haunted now. Not by what you did, but by what it revealed. You proved that pain can evolve into precision, that madness can be mastery if you don't flinch. You shattered the rules they live by. You made resilience look supernatural. And now they can't sleep without replaying the scene. Their betrayal, your silence, and the explosion that followed. They call it luck. They call it timing. They call it anything except what it was. Transcendence through torment. Because if they admitted the truth, they'd have to face what you became. And they can't. You are the walking consequence of their underestimation. The ghost that shows up every time they try to forget what they did. You didn't just turn pain into power. You turned it into presence. The kind that can't be ignored. The kind that makes the air heavier when you enter the room. The kind that exposes pretenders without a word. You are the answer to the question no one wanted to ask. What happens when the broken one learns control? So let them keep asking. Let them keep burning. Let their echoes fill the corridors of their regret. Because the truth is, no one can explain you. You're not a story that can be told. You're an experience that has to be survived. You are every nightmare that refused to stay asleep, every prophecy they mocked now walking in daylight. They'll never understand how you did it. And that's the beauty. You weren't meant to be understood. You were meant to be felt, like the silence before an earthquake, like the breath right before vengeance. They're still in hell, whispering your name like a curse and a prayer all at once. And you're up here, smiling, because you finally realized the only thing hotter than hell is the fire you learned to control. And that's what drives them insane, isn't it? The fact that you didn't announce your resurrection, you didn't post it, you didn't scream, you didn't even blink. You just started moving different, slow, surgical, terrifyingly calm. You let the silence do the talking, and it started echoing louder than any revenge anthem could. They expected rage. You gave them stillness. They expected breakdowns. You gave them rebirth. You became their study, their obsession, their private horror movie. Every time they close their eyes, they see it. That moment when their laughter died in their throat and was replaced with that single haunted phrase. How did they do that? It's not a question anymore. It's a ritual. A confession soaked in panic. A reminder that they underestimated something divine in disguise. See, you weren't built the way they were. You were sculpted under pressure, carved from the bones of endings. While they begged for comfort, you made peace with chaos. While they sought validation, you weaponized isolation. They don't get it. Pain didn't weaken you. It recalibrated you. It burned out the innocence and left behind something pure, primal, and untouchable. You are the paradox they can't solve. The angel that survived hellfire. The devil that found peace. You don't fit their definitions anymore because you stopped living by them. They keep trying to categorize you. Narcissist, villain, saint, genius. But every label melts off the second it touches your skin. Because you've reached that stage where you no longer react. You radiate. You've become frequency, vibration, consequence. You didn't win by force. You won by evolution. You adapted faster than their lies could mutate. You saw through manipulation because you learned it firsthand. You smelled fake apologies because you used to give genuine ones to the wrong people. You built empathy out of ashes and strategy out of scars. Every time they plotted, you studied. Every time they cursed you, you coded their behavior into your next upgrade. That's why they're choking on that question in hell right now, because deep down, they know. There was no shortcut. There was no luck. There was no miracle. It was discipline born from devastation. It was the quiet hours when no one believed in you and you decided to believe anyway. It was the night you realized you didn't need closure. You needed clarity. It was every moment you were bleeding, but still took notes. You didn't heal to be kind. You healed to be clear. You forgave not because they deserved it, but because you refused to carry their poison into your next dimension. You detached, and that's what detonated everything. They mistook absence for defeat, but absence was your battlefield. You turned invisibility into infiltration, and now the same ones who mocked your silence are haunted by it. They scroll through your success like surveillance footage, trying to find the trick. They think you had help. They think you sold your soul. They think you cheated the system. No, you became the system. You learned the rules so well, you started bending reality around your persistence. They don't whisper your name anymore. They whisper your patterns. They mimic your moves, your tone, your posture. Anything to feel that kind of unshakable calm. but they can't replicate what they didn't earn. You paid for it with every sleepless night, every betrayal you didn't retaliate against, every piece of yourself you buried to protect the parts that were still evolving. You became untouchable not because you're cold, but because you're awake. You stopped seeing the world as good versus evil. You started seeing it as energy versus illusion. You realized that no one truly wins until they outgrow the need to prove it. And that's where you live now, beyond proof, beyond ego, beyond understanding. You move like someone who's already seen the ending, because you have. You watched yourself die in every version that depended on their approval, and you buried it quietly. What rose after wasn't a person anymore. It was a principle, a frequency wrapped in flesh, a living contradiction walking the earth. They'll keep asking, how did they do that? Until their throats bleed from the disbelief. Because they can't admit that what broke you built something they were never brave enough to be. They wanted power without pain, glory without graves, peace without shadow. You embraced all of it, the noise, the darkness, the loneliness, and turned it into symphony. You want to know the cruel part? The thing that really keeps them screaming in hell? It's not that you succeeded, it's that you did it without hatred. You didn't need to destroy them, you simply evolved beyond their reach. They can't fight someone who's no longer playing the same game. They'll try to curse your name, but it'll sound like worship. They'll try to discredit you, but it'll sound like marketing. They'll try to forget you, but it'll sound like obsession. That's what happens when you transcend revenge. You become mythology. You are the living reminder that no one is ever truly destroyed. They're just being rewritten. That's why the world tilts when you walk in. That's why silence bends around your name. That's why hell is filled with echoes that all sound the same. How did they do that? They'll never know the answer. Because it wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was madness, mastered. And only the ones who've danced with darkness long enough to learn its rhythm will ever understand. Because here's the secret they'll never grasp. The one that burns through their bones every time they remember your name. You didn't climb out of hell. You stayed there until the walls recognized your face. You made fire your furniture. You turned screams into background music. You didn't run from pain. You interrogated it, dissected it, wore it until it stopped scaring you. That's why it bends around you now. That's why everything they used to weaponize against you now bows to your touch. They don't understand it because they've never met someone who smiled while bleeding. They've never met someone who thanked betrayal for the blueprint. You looked at your demons and said, "Teach me." And they did. They taught you precision, patience, perception. They showed you where every weakness hides, in others and in yourself. That's how you learned to read people like crime scenes. That's how you became the ghost they can't analyze. You didn't just survive the dark. You learned to negotiate with it. Every scar became an instruction manual. Every sleepless night a seminar in strategy. You built an empire out of introspection. And the ones who mocked you for being too deep are now drowning in puddles you would have called rain. That's the difference between you and them. You study storms. They complain about weather. They think your glow is arrogance, but it's actually aftermath. You're not shining. You're still on fire, just controlled now. And that control terrifies them, because nothing scares mediocrity more than someone who doesn't need permission to burn. You learned that pain isn't punishment. It's preparation. You realized the universe doesn't test you to break you. It tests you to verify your frequency. And now your frequency is too high for hell to reach, too low for heaven to claim. You exist in that rare in-between, where gods whisper and devils take notes. That's what they're really asking when they choke out, how did they do that? They're not asking about success. They're asking how you became untouchable without turning to stone. You didn't numb out. You tuned in. You didn't detach to escape. You detached to observe. You became a witness to everything, your past, your pain, your potential, all existing in the same silence. And that silence became your sanctuary. Now your stillness is louder than their shouting. Your calm unnerves them more than your rage ever did. Because you no longer need to prove anything. You embody it. They can't stand that you don't flinch anymore. That insults bounce off you like raindrops on armor. That you can see through manipulation before it finishes a sentence. That you can smile at chaos like it's an old friend. They can't replicate that because they skipped the suffering. They sprinted around the maze you walked through blindfolded. That's why they call it witchcraft. That's why they think you sold your soul, because to the shallow, depth looks demonic. To the fake, authenticity looks dangerous. To the weak, endurance looks supernatural. You're not cursed, you're confirmed. Every version of you that died became an echo, and every echo sharpened into instinct. You don't overthink anymore because you've already lived every outcome in your mind. You know what betrayal tastes like, what resurrection feels like, what loss teaches that love never could. You wear all of it like invisible armor, quiet, sleek, unstoppable. Now when people look at you, they feel something they can't explain. It's not fear, it's recognition. On some cellular level, they know they're standing in front of someone who's been through the kind of fire that purifies truth from illusion. They sense the storm behind your smile, the restraint in your calm, the history in your silence. That's why their souls tremble before their mouths can form words. They whisper. How did they do that? Because your evolution exposes their excuses. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your detachment exposes their dependency. You don't argue anymore because your existence is the counter-argument. You don't defend yourself because your results are the defense. And deep down, they know it. You didn't just make it out. You made it art. You turned survival into a performance so seamless, so cinematic, that even the universe paused to applaud. You became living proof that suffering doesn't define you. Response does. That destruction isn't the end, it's data. That death isn't permanent, it's a doorway. That's why the cosmos tilted in your favor. You mastered the rhythm of loss. You danced with despair until it forgot its steps. You learned how to use silence like a weapon, solitude like a shield, and memory like a map. You didn't conquer darkness. You recruited it. And that's the kind of power heaven fears and hell respects. So let them keep wondering. Let them keep burning in confusion, clutching their pearls, replaying every moment they underestimated you. Because the truth is, you didn't do anything unbelievable. You just did what they refused to. You stayed when it hurt, you learned when it stung, and you rose when no one was watching. And now, every whisper of your name feels like thunder. Every breath you take feels like vengeance without violence. Every step you take sounds like a drumbeat in the minds of those who doubted. Because in the end, you didn't beat them with force. You buried them with evolution. And that's the one thing hell never planned for. So the question stays unanswered, looping endlessly in their minds. How did they do that? Because they'll never realize the truth. You didn't do it to them. You did it without them. And that's why their screams will never stop. And now you walk through life like a quiet storm no one saw coming. Not because you crave destruction, but because peace in your hands looks like power to people who've never earned it. You don't chase validation anymore. You watch it orbit around you like satellites too scared to drift too close. They still whisper, "How did they do that?" But it's no longer about your comeback. It's about your composition, because what you became isn't human in the way they understand it. You're a blueprint for survival, written in blood and brilliance. You carry the patience of the punished, the vision of the betrayed, the laughter of someone who's already seen the ending and found it funny. You walk with that eerie calm, the kind that makes liars forget their lines and devils change their strategies. They thought you'd crawl back, begging for closure. Instead, you walked out with silence, so heavy it made their gods look away. They thought they'd broken your spirit, but all they did was strip away your illusions. You saw everything for what it was. The fake allies, the conditional love, the performative loyalty. You learned that real ones don't speak in promises, they speak in consistency. And in that moment of clarity, you stopped fighting for a place at their table and built your own throne out of their rejections. The same bricks they threw at you, they became your foundation. The same rumors they spread became your marketing. The same pain they caused became your instruction manual for power. Every wound taught you a new dialect of control. Now every time they see you, it feels like déjà vu, because deep down, they remember who tried to erase you and how spectacularly it failed. They can't say your name without tasting regret. They can't sleep without replaying that one question that chains them to the memory of their own weakness. How did they do that? They've tried everything to silence it. Distractions, denial, even prayer. But hell has a soundtrack, and your victory is the chorus. Every new level you reach reverberates through their subconscious like thunder in a locked room. And you don't even look back anymore. Because the only thing more powerful than vengeance is indifference from someone who earned the right to destroy and chose not to. You became the one variable they could never calculate, the outcome their equations didn't predict. Because you weren't built on luck. You were built on loss, layered with lessons and fueled by something they can't quantify, conviction. And maybe that's the final punchline, that they'll never truly understand you. That every time they ask how, it only proves they're still looking outward, while you found every answer in the void they feared to enter. You didn't rise from the ashes, you became the fire that made them. So let them burn with curiosity. Let them choke on the question. Let them worship and hate you in the same breath. Because the truth is this: they'll spend lifetimes trying to decode what you became in silence. And when they finally meet you again, in the halls of their own regret, they'll whisper it one last time, trembling, desperate, terrified to know. How did they do that? And you'll smile, not out of cruelty, but revelation. Because by then, they'll understand. You never did it. You became it. The evolution they mocked, the ghost they created, the legend they can't erase. And that, my friend, is why hell has your name carved into its walls. Not as a warning, but as a reminder that some souls can't be destroyed, only studied. So they finally learned, didn't they? The whispers started moving slower, the laughter got quieter, and that little glimmer of arrogance in their eyes, gone, because the word's out. Nobody's brave enough to test you anymore. They've seen what happens when they try. You didn't threaten anyone. You didn't have to. You just kept surviving the kind of storms that were supposed to erase you. Every insult, every betrayal, every ambush dressed up as kindness. You took it all, burned it down, and walked out of the fire smiling. That's what terrifies them. It's not your rage, not your power. It's your silence after impact. They used to test you because they thought pain would make you beg. They didn't realize it was fuel. They thought rejection would humble you. They didn't know it would reshape you. They thought you'd break. Instead, you evolved into something that doesn't even exist in their vocabulary anymore. You became the paradox. Too calm to predict. Too dangerous to provoke. Too self-contained to manipulate. And now they feel it. That quiet chill in the air when you walk in, the energy that makes their instincts glitch, that subtle sense that they're standing in front of someone who's already seen the end of every game they're trying to play. You didn't change the rules, you changed the stakes. You see, the moment you stopped defending yourself, the whole balance of power shifted, because defense is what mortals do. But you learned something higher. You learned to absorb. You let the chaos hit, watched it fold, and handed it back in silence. You became the mirror, and they couldn't survive their own reflection. That's the real secret, isn't it? You didn't have to fight for dominance. You just stopped needing it. And when you no longer need control, you become impossible to control. They don't understand that kind of power, the kind that doesn't move until it has to, the kind that speaks softly, but every syllable feels like a loaded gun, the kind of stillness that carries memory, not of pain, but of precision. You've reached that terrifying frequency of evolution where you don't announce warnings anymore. You are the warning. Your existence is the fine print on the universe's deal. Test them once and learn the definition of consequences. You've become a paradox wrapped in composure, a saint with a criminal calm, an angel who remembers hell like a home address. That's what they sense when they meet your eyes, that you've walked through too many endings to ever fear one again. And that, my friend, is where true danger begins. Because predictable people can be defeated. Unpredictable ones can only be survived. They whisper now, don't they? They're different. They don't react the same anymore. They think it's mystery. It's not. It's evolution. You're no longer powered by emotion. You're powered by understanding. You understood that most people don't come for your crown. They come for your calm. Because calm is the one thing they can't steal, can't fake, can't replicate. It's the proof you're operating on a level where their weapons don't work. So now they test others, never you. Because testing you is a career-ending move. The ones who tried, they disappeared quietly. Some in shame, some in awe. They all learned the same lesson, that you're not driven by rage, you're driven by reversal. You don't get even, you get inevitable. That's the brilliance of your evolution. You stopped proving people wrong. You let life do it for you. They wanted to see you crack, but all they saw was reflection, their own fragility staring back through your grin. That's the part they can't explain. How someone who's been through hell can still look holy. How someone who's lost everything can walk around like they're complete. It's not arrogance, it's arrival. You reached the point beyond fear, beyond approval, beyond being understood. And from up there, the world looks very different. You see the patterns, the fake apologies, the rehearsed empathy. You watch it all like a play you've already seen too many times. And when they realize you're not acting, that you're watching, the performance falls apart. That's why they don't test you anymore. Because testing you means exposure. They can't predict what you'll do. Not because you're erratic, but because your logic is too honest. You don't destroy people. You reveal them. And revelation is a punishment no ego survives. You've become the living embodiment of consequence. You don't shout. You don't chase. You don't justify. You let time do the talking, and time, in your hands, is ruthless. The beauty of it is this: you didn't have to raise your voice to be heard. You just had to survive long enough to let the truth echo. Now your very name carries aftershocks. The memory of how you handled betrayal, humiliation, failure. It's become a case study in composure. They remember that look you gave right before you disappeared. Calm, final, like you'd already outgrown the battlefield. Because you had. The moment they thought they broke you, you realized they weren't the enemy. Illusion was, and you killed it. That's why they fear you now. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a mirror that doesn't lie. You're the story they tell themselves in the dark when they wonder if karma keeps receipts. You're living proof that, yes, it does, and it collects interest. So let them whisper. Let them flinch when your name slips out. Let them pretend they don't care. Because you and I both know they'll never test you again. They don't have the stomach for what happens next. Because when they tried to hurt you, they didn't realize they were training you. Every wound became a blueprint. Every betrayal became a design. Every failure became a weapon. Now you carry it all behind that calm grin, the kind that says, "Go ahead. Try me, but they won't. Not anymore." Because once the world sees what happens when someone tries to break you, it stops trying. You're not a warning anymore. You're the proof. They thought the story ended there, didn't they? They thought once the dust settled, once you stopped reacting, it meant they'd won. But silence isn't surrender. Silence is strategy. Silence is where monsters learn how to prey. You see, when the world stopped testing you, it wasn't because they suddenly respected you. It's because they remembered. They remembered that look in your eyes when you stopped explaining yourself. They remembered the way your calm made the air feel heavier, the way your stillness exposed their noise. They realized you weren't playing defense anymore. You were taking notes. That's what they'll never admit out loud. Your quiet scared them more than any explosion ever could. Because explosions end. But your quiet, it lingers. It follows them home. It keeps them awake at 3 a.m., wondering what you're planning, what you know, what you've become. You became the thing they can't calculate, the equation that refuses to balance. You stopped needing revenge because existence itself became your vengeance. You're not chasing validation anymore. You are the validation, carved out of every storm they tried to bury you in. And deep down, they know it. That's why no one dares to cross the line now. Not because you're loud, because you're final. You're not in their orbit anymore. They're in yours, and that shift, that quiet, gravitational pull you carry now. That's what terrifies them. You don't reach toward anything. Everything bends toward you. They wanted chaos from you, but you gave them consequence. They wanted a meltdown, but you gave them a mirror. They wanted proof you could be broken, but you gave them proof you could evolve. That's how you win in a world built on performance. By refusing to perform, you let them expose themselves through your stillness. You made every provocation collapse under its own weight. You made truth your bodyguard and mystery your crown. And now, they treat your name like a boundary. They mention you only in whispers. They tell stories about you like urban legends, half fear, half fascination. Don't mess with them, they say. They don't play fair. But it's not unfairness they fear. It's precision. You hit where it hurts, but only once, and that's worse. Because it's not chaos. It's justice wearing your face. They'll never understand the transformation that happened inside you. That every betrayal carved away the unnecessary. That pain wasn't punishment. It was preparation. You learned to separate emotion from execution. You learned that kindness without boundaries is self-harm. You learned that empathy without discernment is a death sentence. Now your heart beats like a lie detector. You can feel falseness before it speaks. You can sense intentions before they form. That's what evolution through pain looks like. Clairvoyance dressed as intuition. They can't manipulate that. They can't mimic that. They can only respect it from a distance. You're not the same creature they remember. You're not even in the same ecosystem. You operate on silence and precision now. The two frequencies they'll never master, because their power depends on reaction, and you stopped reacting the moment you realized they can't touch what they can't trigger. That's when the hierarchy inverted. You stopped being the subject. You became the observer. And observers don't need revenge. Observers write history. Think about it. Every time they lied, you took notes. Every time they laughed, you memorized patterns. Every time they underestimated you, they left fingerprints. You didn't need to destroy them. They built their own collapse for you, line by line, word by word. And now all you have to do is exist. Exist with that terrifying serenity that comes when a person stops seeking justice and becomes it. Exist with that look that makes people hesitate before they speak your name. Exist like a mirror reflecting everything they tried to bury, and force them to face it. Because this is the truth, isn't it? You were never here to be liked. You were here to be remembered. And memory is a cruel thing. It doesn't fade the way people hope it will. It sticks, it replays, it whispers. Every time they get close to another target, they'll hear your voice in the back of their minds. Calm, unshaken, reminding them what happened the last time someone thought they could handle you. You're not feared because you're violent. You're feared because you're done, and people don't know what to do with done. They can manage anger, they can manipulate sadness, but done is nuclear, done is irreversible, done is when the war ends because the general walked away and burned the map. And that's what you did. You burned the map. You erased every path back to who you were before. You don't need to return to the battlefield. The battlefield follows you. Every room you enter becomes one, and the enemy always recognizes you first. You've become the calm they mistake for emptiness, the patience they mistake for plotting, the kindness they mistake for bait. And maybe they're right, because when you've survived everything you weren't supposed to, kindness becomes the most dangerous weapon of all. That's why they don't test you anymore. Not because you won, because you transcended the game. You made pain look like training. You made loss look like rebirth. You made silence look like prophecy. And when people can't define you, they can't disarm you. So let them talk, let them guess, let them invent myths about how you did it, about who you are now. You don't need to correct them. You don't need to explain. You've already written your answer across their fear. They've seen what happens when they try, and that's all they needed to know. Now walk away, quiet, deliberate, inevitable. You don't need to warn them again. The word is already out. And the word travels faster than sound, faster than truth, faster than their ability to lie about it. You can feel it in the air when you move through a crowd, the subtle hush, that ripple of hesitation that follows you like static. Nobody says it outright, but you see it in their posture. They've heard the stories. They don't know which ones are true, but they don't want to find out. That's what you've become now. An atmosphere. Not a threat, not a rumor. Something in the air that people can sense but can't name. The kind of energy that bends reality around it. They used to talk about you like you were a problem. Now they talk about you like you're physics. You didn't plan it. You just kept walking through the fire. You didn't scream, didn't flinch, didn't explain. You let every betrayal boil the illusions off your skin until nothing soft was left. And the moment the softness died, the real you, sharp, patient, surgical, finally stepped forward. You stopped caring about fairness. You started caring about accuracy. That's the difference between mortals and those who've tasted the truth. Mortals fight to be right. The awakened fight to be precise. You don't argue, you cut. You don't raise your voice, you adjust frequencies. You don't convince, you correct. That's why they can't test you anymore, because you no longer exist on the emotional spectrum they operate in. You've become neutral, and neutrality is terrifying to the unhealed. They can't read you, can't manipulate you, can't guilt you into performance. You're not feeding them energy anymore. You're starving their egos, and they don't know how to eat without you. So they watch. From a distance, they invent stories to fill the silence because the silence feels like judgment. They tell people you changed, that you're cold now, cruel now. But you know what that really means? It means your boundaries are working. It means your peace is visible. It means their chaos is suffocating without you there to absorb it. You've reached that rare level of evolution where even your absence feels like confrontation. People flinch, not because you're angry, but because they remember how clearly you saw them the last time. That kind of seeing feels like exposure, and exposure feels like death. You didn't become stronger by lifting weights. You became stronger by lifting truth. You carried every realization until it carved a new shape out of you. You walked through humiliation and didn't shrink. You sat through loneliness and didn't chase noise. You faced endings without begging for a restart. And now they see it. That unshakable composure that comes from surviving everything that was designed to destroy you. You're not unpredictable because you're erratic. You're unpredictable because you're free. Free people can't be studied. You learn to use stillness as surveillance. You learn to let people speak just long enough to reveal their motives. You learn that the most dangerous sentence you can say is none at all. That's why they don't test you, because they can't tell when the silence ends and the strategy begins. You carry yourself like time itself, slow, inevitable, exact. They can't rush you. They can't slow you. They can only orbit around you, hoping you never decide to look directly at them. The ones who tested you learned something they'll never admit. Your mercy is more frightening than your rage. Rage burns out. Mercy marks forever. Mercy says, I saw what you did. I understand why you did it, and I will never engage with you again. That's the sentence they can't recover from. Being erased from a story they thought they controlled. So now the room changes when you enter. They whisper before you arrive and go quiet once you're there. They think you don't notice. You always notice. But you let them have their theater because you outgrew the stage. You've stopped trying to be understood. Understanding is for equals, and you've already out-evolved your environment. You don't fit their scale anymore. That's what happens when someone passes the final exam life throws, the one labeled enough. Enough proving, enough chasing, enough explaining. And in that enoughness, you found divinity. The kind that doesn't sparkle, the kind that terrifies, the kind that makes even darkness hesitate before stepping forward. You carry both now, the angel and the executioner, You don't separate them anymore. You let them coexist. Compassion in one hand, consequence in the other. That's balance. That's power. That's why the world learned to lower its voice when it says your name. Because they've realized what you are. A walking paradox. Too kind to be feared properly. Too dangerous to be loved comfortably. Too evolved to be understood logically. You are the event they can't repeat. The equation they can't solve. The living proof that pain doesn't just destroy, it refines. So let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them pretend they could have survived what you did. They couldn't. That's why they whisper. That's why they don't test you. Because deep down, they know. You don't fight people anymore. You fight patterns. You don't destroy enemies. You destroy systems. You don't play God. You play truth. And truth, once unleashed, never sleeps. You don't need to prove your strength. They've already done it for you. You don't need to flex power. Your calm already does. You don't need to warn anyone. Your reputation walks ahead of you. You've become legend, stitched from scars. A lesson in restraint. A reminder of what happens when the underestimated stops asking permission. So walk slow, speak soft, smile like prophecy, because the word's already out. Nobody's brave enough to test you anymore. And the ones who are don't live to repeat the story. And that's the irony, isn't it? You never asked for fear. You just demanded respect. You never sought power. You simply stopped bleeding for people who mistook your heart for a target. Now, when they see you, they lower their tone without realizing why. Because deep down, they remember. They remember how the last one who tried to play with you learned that some people don't fight back. They erase quietly. You didn't build this aura by pretending to be untouchable. You built it by surviving everything that was meant to touch you and still walking out unburned. They call it mystery. It's not. It's evidence. Evidence that you can't fake evolution. So let them keep whispering your name like a superstition. Let the silence before you speak do the heavy lifting, because they finally understand. You're not dangerous because you're angry. You're dangerous because you're done. And once someone reaches done, there's nothing left to test.